Welcome to yet another OpenChain webinar. This is a special webinar. One reason is that it's another time we're taking a look at a very practical case study. It's also one of the OpenChain and Friends outcome webinars. We had a wonderful event in Stuttgart, Germany in April, where many people from big companies, small companies, local government came together to talk about how to do open source, how to do compliance, how to do automation for compliance and security, to share knowledge. Because so many of the talks were so useful, we asked presenters to come and redo some of their presentations as OpenChain webinars. We're very lucky today to have Helio, who is with CARIAD. Helio has been involved in open source for a great many years in all different parts of the field. And nowadays he's dealing with challenging, interesting, and certainly educational aspects of dealing with open source in a critical industry like automotive. Before we formally get started, I will show the antitrust policy notice. We show this at the beginning of every Linux Foundation meeting, and you can find the full antitrust policy on the Linux Foundation website. The event, as we move from the antitrust policy into the actual webinar, the event is going to be a presentation, but please don't hesitate to jump in with questions and comments and so on. You'll find that the chat is available for you to type something. I'll keep an eye on that as we go. You can also raise your hand and unmute yourself as needed. With this out of the way, little to do except to introduce my good friend Helio. Helio, the floor is yours.
You. So let me share the presentation. Okay, and that one. Yeah. So I think everyone can see the screen. Hello to all. And please, I want to say this: if anyone want to interrupt me in the middle and ask questions, please do so. So let's talk today about how we are doing the compliance with the new process running. That was actually a perfect timing since this we have our first approvals happened in few months ago there's, and we have the first stage of the project working there. So I want to show to you that what you use in the ORT as the beating heart of the process. But for then, we need to a little bit introduction and see how the process went there, because we not simply say we're using the tool, but not how we reach the tool there. So, short background, it started as process change. The original part is like this. Our aim is increasing efficiency. Our process, and we've detected some flaws in the original process, and you need to increase efficiency. So we need to change the process. It's nothing related at that point, was not related to the tool itself. It's the process and how we execute these things. So the process need to be revised, and we need to see what we need to change. The cost reduction, that what people usually think that was the reason that everyone is doing things at that point, was not our starting point. And the cost was a side effect later, but we go to this point there. And the tooling need to adapt to the new process. That's exactly the key things that started everything. We want more control over the results. That's the end goal to what's the beginning idea. So this is really, really the most high level we could want, exactly when we started everything. So the process in OpenChain, since we are dealing with OpenChain at that point, you get the reference tooling to chain influenced on the things. So the tooling reference for the traditional SM process cannot hold anymore. It's basically is there the idea of the original process that coming like we have a software, we give this to the compliance department, they analyze the software, they have meetings, they do some pass by 1, 2, get the results, and have several meetings and everything to get it done. It's like it's traditional multiple meetings, 1-to-1 project team to work, and this cannot hold. The point that it's impossible to handle hundreds, almost 1,000 projects in this way. This is not theirs. And even with constant releases, we're not talking anymore about only doing software for every 5 years or 2 years. We're talking about sometimes daily releases. This completely, the traditional SSM process cannot hold there. So we are doing the traditional way before. A little bit of automation, but was traditional way. So yes, it's obvious the process was not efficient. So we need to move away there. And then the question is, the current tooling could be used in the modern process. So data and resources, how we got wrong on the first, what's matter? So that's the question was, yeah, we should actually use the tooling to this tooling to approach of the new process and getting nearby what is actually the reference tooling do it. But then our goals are pretty simple. Got software approvals. That's and so the tooling could hold. Yeah, maybe yes. That's the thing. The tool can do that, right? And that's exactly the key question there. Our current tooling at the moment could handle what we need. Supply chain happens in the middle since it started. This is the world completely changed. No one talked about supply chain at all before. And the toolings that was created at that time was created for traditional SSM processes, thinking that we have some guardian, we have some high-level manager that can take care about this whole process and this entire tool, and you see everything. This is not works anymore. So the requirement changes at the point that we are not data oriented. It's not anymore about you send something in and you get something out from the one single process and there's one people that can do it. No, they're not. We are now data oriented, a lot of data oriented for several things and goals. So what's got wrong in the first matter part? What's happening with our data? And being that this is a summary of every single company that's around us are not asking itself there. It's basically we don't know what we do with our data because our toolings in general are proprietary. Several ones there, we don't know what's happening inside the tooling. We don't know if how is our data is developed. We don't see how the data itself is manipulated. We don't know exactly if some of the data is sent back and where is stored, how is stored. Usually get the results. And for most of the people before was completely okay, even us before. Not anymore there. Why? It's simple because we have the main thing in the company as the data. This is the most valuable asset of a company. And if you don't know what the tools are doing with your data, basically we need to find a better solution. Every company in the world that doesn't have the knowledge what is doing with your data is basically on peril. And we realize that we got it wrong on this one too. And then we need to modify the solution. So to understand that the data is what matters on your company. If you're using the tooling A, B, or C, doesn't matter. But if you want to really taking care about your data, you need to have control of your data. No one has it with proprietary tools that we used it before. We simply don't know what's happening. We just get results. It's even difficult to find out how is the data is stored in the database and other parts. So we need to find a better solution. So embrace OS open source software. So you want get back the control of your data. We want data generic as possible. So it means one thing is nothing having control of your data and don't know where your data going on. The second thing is having your data dependent of one single tooling, meaning I can even use an open source tool, but if my data is just fixed to this open source tool, I'm being hostage of this open source tool forever. So I need to make my data being generic as possible. So we want ability how to decide how our data is processed and manipulated. So you want to bring the data to our domain back. It's our data, our decisions. So only open source software could provide it. So this is a caveat that people don't understand. I'm talking about open source software. I'm not talking about free open source software. This is a very clear separation there. I want to use software that I know that what's doing, not related. If it could be a commercial open source software, could be in completely free open source software directly, depending on how you define that. But as long that I know what is the software is doing with my application and my data, that's exactly what expected. So we set a new ground rules for tooling. We, at least on our part and our compliance team, we decided basic rules like first, is there the decision point? Is there an open source software in the public that we can use it? If yes, we start to use it. Two, is there an open source software that exists on the open source but not entirely fits on what you need? We use it and you help to develop and you commit and push this upstream and continue to use it. There's no OSS software or not OSS that we can change it. We look at that if it's a company that providing software that we need, as long the code is be open. A very good example that this how this can exist, looking for the Qt company. Qt is you need to pay license to use in a commercial way Qt, but the source code is entirely public, so you can see everything. And the last resort on our ground rules are, if you don't have any other option, you go to a proprietary software closed one. I'm very happy to say that we already stopped it on the first two ground rules there. So there, we are approaching ORT. ORT becomes the heart of the process. So we need tooling with certain capabilities. ORT provided mostly the entire capabilities that we want. Something is not there yet, not difficult to implement at that point. We need a tool that control multiple stages. And ORT already are multiple stages that we can separate things and the way to use it. We need a tool that can be reused in different scenarios. ORT already provided this as well too. And we need something that is low opinionated, allow us to decide the executions. This is exactly what to do. This is not forcing us to do it. And the last one, it's easy to pipeline with multiple systems. In our case, we are not in a small startup. We are a company that dealing with tons of different systems. If you had something that just talk in one specific way, it would be heavily complex to us to make the system works. ORT provides us. But not as easy starts. So beyond the proof of concept, it comes some things. Multi-layered groups always take a huge number of different systems. So we are talking tons of different types of credentials, security related communications parts, how people want to different things and send left or right there's. And traditional single do-it-all server oriented would not hold for us. So traditional way to have your original source code sent to a server, do the magic, send the results back, not hold. It's several other things, like for example, we sometimes teams not allows, very restricted team not allows too much people to see the source code, meaning that for initial process, we cannot even see the source code, but still we need to do the scanning on the whole entire dependency chain there. So we need doing in different steps and stages that traditional single do-it-all server would not hold. And that's the most complex thing. We are changing from a click-based system to automated, oriented reset to the trust. So what happens there? People are comfortable to use some interface that click, oh, approve, this okay, this license, other things. And now they are completely, most of these things are completely automated. So the trust left because people don't see anymore what is happening there. Not that is not the scene. Everything is available. But with the people that get used in an interface process is not the same people that used to see extended logs in the development site. So it's really changed the basis. So we designed an initial architecture there. We do see that that's different parts that could be worked. We even decided that security has some usage, even if we are looking for the compliance part. We end up that as we are touching several places that will have security there. So we separated in four things. The green part is mostly demanded for our beloved OpenChain 5230 and the same time the UNCs for automotive that we need to have the software stored in somewhere inside in-house parts. So we need devices that we do need to have a place that we actually have all the software that is scanned, not the project itself because it's already on, but all the dependencies stored in some place. So it is some place we have a storage part separated there. We see need the yellow part is the indexing. We need some place that we can see, visualize, index about the structure of the projects, which project depends of which part there's, but at the same time, it not be connected and not be dependent of that will be the processing parts, that the ones that actually do the data manipulation and other parts there's. And at the same time, the security related to what we are scanning and everything, we have the data because we are the first one as looking in the system entirely. So we do have ahead knowing which kind of vulnerabilities exist at that moment for that software. So this is a valuable information for security team. So they don't need to redo these kinds and everything on their side, but they have the front end information. We do not do manipulation of security, not security management, but we can provide them the information that they need to do their job better. So indirectly, you have the efficiency on spread out wide for several places. And then that small thing on the call it database, because for general usage, database is the some simple thing that will happen in this way. But it's not. The database actually is the most important part of this entire project, but it's something that we cannot simply explain in an easy way. How actually end up for the processing in our side? We separated this in the client and server side. We have things happen on the client that actually the teams can solve their parts. And you have then the big process of everything else on the right parts. And ORT was not designed to do in this way, but interestingly, the architecture design was made to be able to do this way. Some changes are needed, so we need adapt for some things. We need talk with the upstream, but in the end, it paid off. I can tell that I could not do that with other tools except for ORT at the time. It's an interesting side effect that see we need to do that without having problem, and then suddenly ORT was able to do that. It's not the expectation that we get in the beginning, and then it paid off. It's a great thing. So this
Helio,
happens on this way. Sorry, Marcel.
one question. Yeah, one
Yeah.
question about this check project metadata here in your workflow at the left side. Is this project metadata that you get from the source code only, or in this step will you also gather other sources of metadata from other systems?
We got from the other sources. So how it works, this metadata is basically from the project itself, not from the dependencies. And when we started the scanning, this process was developer oriented. So we don't have an initial onboarding process. We made this everything to developer can onboard their application automatically themselves without anything. So it's obviously on the first stage that we have it, we don't have information of the project. This doesn't exist. There's exactly inside the source code. So what happens this is on the first stage there, we just create a metadata information there's in the database related to this project, a placeholder database. At the same time, we created for purpose of development for the management, we create tickets on the Jira side, connected theirs, and at the same time, in the client pipeline of the user, we put a warning to say that you need to fill up your metadata of your project in some specific website that legals control. So at that moment, if you realize you have 3 or 4 systems connected and the client cannot be passed by, the scan of the analyzer site not happens until the metadata is filled. So it means that at the moment that they fill the metadata, the process starts. So we unblock the process and then goes to the curator's level. So this metadata is basically need to be filled by the project team before, and then we check it. If this is completely fine, then we can go ahead. So that's exactly what we do. And that's an interesting caveat because now it's something that I will explain later then, but if you see that I have one legal system interface that I use it, we have the pipelines that's usually on GitHub, and you have the Jira in our case for the ticket system. And people say, do you actually replicate this information in every system and need to connect all the systems? This is actually not true because the data is everything on the database. So this is really data centric. So if I need to update or everyone need to request information about the metadata of your project, it's available to every single tool. We can just push for the tool do you want, or you can just request information and then pure data. So this is one thing that is already made at things. Did you answer your question, Marcel?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, good. Okay. So then connecting the dots. So we use ORT for heavy lifting, and you have companion tools to process theirs. So ORT provides the data abstraction that we need. So there's everything happens without an interface, without a single server. It's just starting processes with ORT to generate exactly the data we need. So then we have multidisciplinary teams can work and integrate and independent at the same time. So just to understand how it goes, our legal team actually can edit and automate it for the license classification part automatically, and it commits automatically on the ORT config, our config, and it automatically started to be used by everyone. So there's no need to communication with legal team requests theirs. This process goes in the way that at the first scan, we detected that which license is not in our license classification officially. We actually create a ticket for the legal team. The legal team detected one, just modified on their automated tools, automated updates in the ORT config, and done. So we have basically zero interaction of humans, zero emails, zero necessity of human intervention except for what the normal there's is pure efficiency there on this part. It is working really right now. And the most important thing, the old process, this need to be redone several times because the system was, no one knows very well how to use the old system properly. So it was done wrong and it cost a lot of money. So now with the new process there, we can actually just do one single time and every single project that is running on the database on the system that's it's earned the results. So this is really there. The same thing happens with the curation. Curation has a hard time to adapt for the new process, but then there's a very, very small detail is happening right now. One single package created sometimes just validated 3 or 4 or tens or 100 projects then. And this is done one single time. And this is mostly automated. There's after the curation guns. So really, this is actually one thing that was able to provide like the way ORT works to do it. So we do have a new process and kind of working, right? Everything perfect, far from it. That's now the interesting thing. This is really company things that will happen to everyone. The biggest gain of ORT become a small headache in the process. The what's tooling silver bullet mindset. Process before was not developer oriented. Process was developed before was done by compliance team or project management compliance teams. They see in high level. So they always come to us and says, but what tool are you using? This is the tool that do everything. And then usually the second question is the cost of the tool too high? How many we are paying for the licenses? And it was really, really difficult for my surprise to explain then that, first of all, we are not paying anything on this one. Of course, it's not for free, not discussing that, but we are not paying anything for license on these ones. We are actually donating our development time. Our cost is the development time. And then we are not using a single tool. We are using one tool to orchestrate everything, but we have several tools there. And then the third difficult part to it, and becoming the largest headache to explain, mostly for management, why do you really care about the tool? Why is it important? And most things, why do you need to understand the tool? I could understand this question coming, for example, from the development team. And we are actually explaining it and want them to involve it with every single detail on technical parts. But management wants to know about what is, okay, to be honest, it's how the sausage is done instead of just eating. Because in the end, they're just charging us to get the results. Say, what is the outcome, and you need to everything approve it. And usually when the things are approved, people forget about us because basically it's approved. So the tooling doesn't matter anymore. But in the middle of the things and the change, always the things come like they need to know the tool because somehow this is really important. So it's a changed mindset for this one. So moving the main work from project owners, project managers to automation and development teams is hard. It's something that you need to understand when you are moving any system from automation as a new thing. It's like they are not seeing anything. And this is really highly complex. As they're not seeing anything, they demand us, they don't want to see anything. And then you started to actually log in and show in the ticketing system everything that is done. And since the process is not any more manual, but automated, we're talking about 100 to 1,000 times faster. So you can realize that the grow up of ticket system becomes huge. So what happens later? Complaining that we have that much things there. And now we need to find a solution to how actually have a new interface to group all the things they ask it to a minor things there. So it's separation of the process to making people understand how the things change it is really hard. So this is what actually one of the most difficult things that we had. So changing mindset, we need to reprogram the brains of mostly everyone. And this, I'm not saying untrue, even our brains in our development team, because the original compliance team before we started this process was mostly compliance team. Now we are a DevOps, highly development oriented team instead of only a compliance that click, click, click. So everyone brain need to be reorganized. It's not simple. So we moved everything to developer centric. The first people to approach this process is developer, not anymore a project manager, a meeting, let's decide other things. There's not anymore. And then some of traditional work like creation move into a Git text based work. It's very difficult to them because they used to know how to work on basically interfaces like traditional ones like Fasology, like to having a way to have it clicks other things. Now it's not. It's now to get text. We realize that at some point we will need some interface that can facilitate the creation of these parts, or even dealing with AI, but this is a little bit later. But the thing is that we cannot simply use any interface today or any tooling existing today to do curation, because what the results is usually some data set that is becoming closed and hostage of the same tool. We need have the curation of a tooling that actually do the curation and can produce multiple results. There's ORT itself can read multiple results, can produce multiple results. But still is not an interface of this one, and is not a generic way to do curations. So even about provenances, like you're looking for multiple places, let's say SW360, or well, let's say cloud-based solutions that provides to you provenance curations, it's not simple to get this in one single tooling. So there's no generic information, that's not. So for today, the curations need to dealing with Gits, and they are not originated developers on this way. So for efficiency reasons, we split duties between teams, because, like I said, legal teams are dealing with legal information like license classifications. Developer teams are dealing with access for multiple repositories. They have different credentials. We don't want, for example, they give us credentials for every single repository they are dealing to do the process of their software. So they need to do it in this way. And even for efficiency reasons, we need to split duties between teams. Sometimes they are new for this process. So you'll be efficient, but on the beginning, it's not that much, because we need to go from team to team and talking a lot. And the amount of information exchanged, this is huge. That's because our work should be connected by the tooling. And then it means that we need to connect several places, and the developer works, and the legal work, and the curator works connected by the tooling itself. So what do we have behind it? Do we have the data now? Yes. So now what? SBOM is the final product, right? Yes and no. This is there's a wonder part of second things that everyone got wrong there in our site. Yes, SBOMs is the ones that you use it, is your byproduct, is actually what mostly of us want to have it as a declaration document. But SBOM is not your final product. Is your process data, whole data is your final product. That's after that we can generate an SBOM or whatever information there's. We need dedicated tools to be orchestrated by ORT on the results. We need to be able to access the raw data without post-process. So as I going back to the database, this is why the database will become so important. We have the data of everything that is processed in the end. So I can be able to ask for the project. I can be able to ask for the corrections. I can be able to ask for all the data as possible that tells me the history of the software. Then what I do with the data, that's exactly up to you. In our case, we get the data, produce SBOMs, and at the same time we get the data, produce data for security, and at the same time we get the data and produce automated logs to us to post-process in the dashboard. What's the difference of everything there? The data is always the same. Before, we have ORT data, we have Jira data, we have data with some server, always duplicated data that can be changed and modified. Now we have one single source of truth. All the tools around me, all the results around me coming from the same source of truth. So today we can produce an Cyclone DX, an SBOM from SPDX, SBOM from a very normal output that ORT do normally for reports from the same source of data. Not two different sources of data, not three different applications. This is simplify something that we know where the data is coming from. And you need to provide the data for everyone in the company. So we cannot simply go to someone else and say, please use this tool because we said so. No, they just say, sorry, we are not using your system, we are going to different place. But you say that this is the data, this is how it's formatted, and then you can use it. They say, okay, I have my tool here, I can adapt and use their data on this someone. And this is exactly the most gain of this one. So, for example, there's no one ring to rule them out. We have several toolings. So the main scanner is ScanCode, the snippet scanner is ScanOSS. The database is Postgres, but the model in our database is coming from SW60. The main CI is GitHub. We have more than one. The internal connections is done by internal Python tooling, and everything passed by or is controlled by ORT. And what is important, for example, there? See, this is really under the hood. So meaning that if at some point I find a better scanner, a better snippet scanner, or we need to change the model of the database, or there's a new CI, we don't change the process because we are not having the tool. It's not that what tool is using. We're just producing whole data that tells the history of your software. If you have a better thing that you can replace in the middle of under the hood to make your data going better and faster, we can, as long that we keep in the same results. So this is what is today. It could not be tomorrow. It could be really continue different. Yeah. And then software engineering 101. What you don't know about it, what the tool do, you have surprises. Large company will have will set to have multiple development processes. We have teams that using Go. We have teams that using Android. We have teams that developing tools in Python. We have teams that developing things inside the firewall system because it goes toward cars. We have teams that developing things in the GitHub proper subscription there. So then the guys using Go, if it goes to the car, they need to use an internal registry, so they need to set credentials on your own. The guys that use in Python and Open GitHub can actually use the registry from PyPy. The guys that use developing things from cars are forbidden to use anything from the internet. So basically, they need internal registry, so they need your set of credentials. So you can imagine that every single team need to adapt of their circumstances. It's not a standard single development engineering process that you just, oh, I have your project, I scan it and do it. So when you try to embrace, oh, you need to know how and why. Before in the old process, the proprietary tool that they're using, they are putting things there. And it was in the hand, the process was in the hand of half, in the hands of the teams, half in the hands of the compliance team. So the original tooling is hidden in what it did. We don't know if it was correct or not. So we are paying a tooling that says the tool says to you, we are the best tool in the market. We doing and solve your problem. Yes, but my question is how? Where is the measures? Show me how this is done. What you are doing with my data that is there before. How can I actually know what you're doing to my data that I can replicate in a new process? The question is how? The answer is I cannot know the how because I don't have the source code. I don't have control of anything. And then this will actually create a problem to us. So we will need to learn mostly about everything on development. It's not a joke about that. We basically had a team understanding and have knowledge way to every single build system that existing inside our company right now. And you're talking more than 20 or 25 different ways to doing things. Not easy at all. So we need not only anymore the compliance team, but everyone on board. So the process, since we moved the process to the side of the development first, we starting to talk with develop teams. They starting to learn what we are doing in our process, and we are showing exactly theirs, and we start to learning with them what they are doing. So it's not anymore the compliance team doing the job for someone. It's like the entire company doing their job to make the entire company has the things done. It's working so far. Yes, it's a whole path to go, but it's going there. So Right now we have direct talks most of the time about how software is done, and every new team onboarding, since we have a common ground and common place that we communicate, sometimes even the other teams are already notified then about how to do these things, because you already talked and already solved it by then, and the problem is similar there. So it's a learning process that is come back to the mindset again. And the second time that OSS paid off. ORT is not perfect, then not tooling is. That's a statement. There's no perfect software, not even promised software from the commercial side. No. So ORT is open source. We got everything you want for modern maintenance capabilities. We are able to use ORT. We are able to actually doing changes that we need and send upstream, and we talking and they fix it on theirs. We are able to actually create our custom solutions inside ORT for specific reasons. We can do everything. We'll be able to change the software. We'll be able to talk to upstream developers and not wait months to the new version. That is actually what's happening at this point. One thing is that we have complaints on the previous process. We have things that we need to change in the tooling that we are using. We opening the request and we are not paying a low price for this. We are doing premium paying for that. The answer is that wait for a new version, or we cannot do that, or we are looking for that. This usually takes months to never. So we're basically wasting money for a company that says that has the best software in the world, but never made what we needed. And with ORT, for good or bad, we are able to do things ourselves or together with the team. So no questions. It pays off in the first time that you did the interaction. So what's next for us? The vision is of data agnostic setup need to be concluded. We have more in this. The whole history about that small database will be taken a completely different webinar in the future. That's what we need to do. So this is involved how actually the next interaction of one tooling called SW360 will be happen there. We need this in this case a new dedicated indexing front end back end to be deployed toward the ORT results. Even being a developer centric, we do see the necessity of having an interface that comes to this point, meaning this we do need to have something that shows project information that's related to compliance itself. But the need to connect it to the data agnostic setup. We don't want to use any tool that has his own database, his own way to do the things. Today, we have a few tools that can be a candidate to be modified, open source tools, but no tools is ready to do that at all. We don't have the tool. Doesn't matter what everyone comes to you, we don't. But there's open source tools that's almost there. We want to prepare our internal Python tooling to be open sourced. Our internal process was designed since the beginning to be open source in the future. We don't want to have this like our own precious. There's several reasons that this can be benefit for everyone to be open source in theirs. We also probably we started with the process open sourcing, then the Python tooling, but this will take time. And we want to be future proof. So that's realize that artificial intelligence for our case is not there yet. Because everyone is trying a lot of things, even in OpenChain, there's discussions about that, but we're not there yet. I always say that people will come to us and already say that, oh, but we already see, I solved this, things, this, and I can do this, or look the results. Yes, we can see results. We are not prepared to analyze these results. And that's the thing. Yes, you can produce things with AI, but we need a lot of effort to actually verify this. And you need very highly qualified people to understand this kind of results, because these results becoming from a long time of experience or someone. So it's not about executing and getting results with AI. This can be done right now, but it's about to reviewing these results. And this is more harder than produce the results, because now you don't know how the results are produced, how you can trust these things. So that's exactly the thing. So this we need to prepare in the future proof. And that's what I could talk about our current process today. Hope you enjoy it, this one.
My goodness, that was a lot of ground. We
Yeah.
we are open for questions. Marcel had a note in the comments. By the way, he said, with open source, if there are complaints from your users, you can just ask them to fix it themselves and make a pull request. Yep.
Yeah, pretty much. It's exactly what they did.
Now, the floor is open. Does anyone have a question for Helio? And while people gather their thoughts, I have one, which is recently, Helio, I've noticed on several of our meetings, you've brought up the architectural question. And I just wanted to check, beyond just this situation, this case study with ORT, has challenges with architecture been something that you've kept encountering with open source and other tools in the last few years?
But yeah, so last few years you're talking about computing, right? So the whole ecosystem changes a lot, and the thing is that we basically are focused on making the tooling before, and there's architecture of tooling to make it work and was expected. But if you're looking on the right or left, there's the input and output was the most important things. Yes, the tooling is the engine of the car. We know that is using the automotive way is the engine of the car. It moves the car, but then the end goal is like in the car need to go to left, go to start for some point and end of some point. And the whole intention of the car is deliver the people. So that's the car should be able to allow amount of some type of people enter in the car, and then at the end you need to deliver the people to the place they want. Several things happen in the middle of this whole travel there. And the same thing with architecture is this. The toolings itself today produce results, sometimes better or worse, doesn't matter. We have this tooling, there's the toolings are architect, there's, but the results are not validated in the end. Like, can you tell the result of the 2A or B or C is good or not? And for it's like for and which parameters are you using? I would say, for example, that, and there is a very good example for CISA trying that. They have their own parameters that they try it to analyze the SBOM outputs of the tools last year. But in the end, exactly why the groups itself doesn't have a proper validation and to qualify exactly the output of the tools. So, for example, SPDX provided the whole specification and then architecture of SPDX is done theirs. They never provide a validation set for the entire specification that can be reused by the tools. We have somehow partial validation and other things, but there's no parameter to say what is the quality of this. Same thing about, let's go to this specific meeting, ORT itself. ORT is designed to produce data about scanning theirs. Can we actually say that ORT output is really pretty much the best one? We cannot, because we don't have a way to say that what's the comparison base. So in the end, we are internally on the open source saying that, oh, this tool is doing this wrong because I think that what I doing is better. And the same time, it says, oh, the other tool is doing better than me, or and which parameter do we have? So we have architect the applications to itself to getting results, but we never plan it to get in how to validate these results in the way that we are doing right. So now it happens that we have multiple tools doing sometimes same thing, getting different results. And this is make it difficult for companies and trust in the quality of output there. But at the same time, he has the fake way for the commercial tooling say, okay, I produce this result and my result is best. But since it's a closed source application, I again cannot tell that what they are telling is true. but it's very good because if you're paying, it's fine, right? So that's why the challenge. So the rule number one for the next levels of architecture of the open source tooling is that the results need to have a way to qualify, unless you are creating a new thing. So you create the qualification. But if you're not creating a new thing, but we're writing tooling that depends of some standard and specific, have a way to validate with the standards. And then this is something that you need to think about the architecture change of the tooling. So this, if you have this in mind, probably we will do things differently on the application.
Thank you, Halio. That's a really good summary of why it matters. Now we have quite a few other people on the call. Does anyone have a question for Halio? You can just unmute yourself or you can type it.
I'm able to talk about the technical parts as well if you want to.
Sure, go for it.
So if anyone has a question on this, I can explain how maybe we're doing things under the hood.
The top secret bits. I see Thomas has just typed in the chat. Can you reuse curations even across package versions? He was saying, I think curations are project specific. Do you have a way for the compliance team to have global curations?
Yeah, that's one of the beauty things about ORT. We have several level things. We go from you can go from the project specific creations to the global level. So we do have a global level for similar packages, even introducing recently range version based packages. So yes, it has a global way. It's actually a project oriented way. It's a multiple level things. So it's really great and works perfectly.
All right, that's excellent. Yep, Thomas is happy with that answer.
Yeah, I think the time is almost done. So
Yeah. If anyone has a last question, oh, there we go. There it is. Thomas is back. Do people regularly use scan code, or do you mostly use FOSS-ID, ScanOSS, and scan code is more for trying out ORT?
it's this is another beauty about the OR to be agnostic than and low opinionated. Its decision usually is by the company theirs. We decided that, so basically I decided that our main scan would be scan code, and we do, for example, using ScanOSS only for snippet scanning there, but everything integrated to ORT. So basically, is the tooling under the hood? There's and why I'm decided to go to scan code. I know people from about code from a long time. I know very well about the quality that they do in there, and I know how good this scan code it is. For example, I don't know for my site how good FOSS ID it is because it's a closed source application. So I would say that scan code is better than every tool because I don't know anything about the other tools. If you tell me, for example, if I know about ScanOSS, very good for scanning theirs, but I have my trust in the beginning for the scanning part on scan code because I've been using for years. I know very well. That's why. But the beauty of ORT is that it's not opinionated. You choose what you think is best for you, as long that the results end up in a general output. So if you're using Faucet or scan code, ScanOSS, for me the result will be always and in some generic data, whole data that I can use it. That's the perfect thing.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense.
So how will you be using SW360 in the future? Just wait for me. Just small disclaimer. I'm one of the lead developers of SW360, but this
Yeah.
is topic.
Yeah, I know, Helio. You are leading SW360, and I've been a user of SW360 for a long time, since my Siemens days. We have used it for many years there, and now Eclipse Foundation, now me being part of Eclipse Foundation, I have pushed for your SW360 usage, and I'm just now trying to understand how we can make use of it. Yeah.
Yeah, this is, I can tell to you, this is a really huge thing that not even a single webinar can do it. But the SW360 is going through a huge transformation that will
Yeah.
happen soon. Really, really huge. It's something that's not expected. And the future can involve not about SW360 itself, but what can go to Eclipse. There's a whole panorama that involves even software heritage around. So we are talking
Yeah,
about big data around. So it's not the monolithic thing that anymore. Again, it's the same thing as this presentation. One tool doesn't fit all. And then
exactly.
I had talked with people from the Eclipse Foundation about how they need to move for this big data completely agnostic sets theirs. So
Mm.
yeah, this is a huge topic, but cannot handle on this webinar at all. Not in 5 minutes at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in our toolchain, we make use of clearly defined data as well, heavily, as of now. Our internal tooling stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, clearly defined is great, but something that's in case of big companies like us, we need to actually have some legal approval of this one. That's why you cannot directly use it.
Yeah.
This is why our option went to Scano Assess, because we use their snippet scanning code there from this to get their database. So we are very good on that one. I really like the result of that. And the same part for the curations, we need to dealing with internal solutions, because
Yeah.
it's like lawyers cannot simply trust other lawyers. It's not easy. Marcel
Yeah.
shows understand what I'm selling, right, Marcel?
Not without my lawyer.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Helio. Nice presentation. Wonderful. Thank you.
All right, that was fantastic. Thank you very much, Helio. Thank you for our busy audience. We had over 20 people online, and this will be published as a recording in a couple of days. And this, at the moment, is the final OpenChain and Friends outcome webinar. We might have some later, but I just want to say thank you, Helio, for presenting, for recording what you did in April, and for exciting more conversation. It's so deeply appreciated.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Have a beautiful day making beautiful cars. Take care and stay healthy. Bye-bye.